So we're back live. Would like to obviously excuse ourselves with our followers, but we had some, thanks to Windows updates, it seems that, it's obvious that we have had problems with our streaming PC. But now we're back online and we're like another 50 minutes of race. Joshua's back with us also, so I leave it to you for now, Joshua.
So unfortunately you missed the end of qualifying. Pole position was taken by Hani Al-Sabti from Kevin Siggy, Risto captain Gergo Baldi. Al-Sabti dropped back at the start. It's Siggy leading now, followed by Capit. But Al-Sabti has caught right back up to Capit, and he's going for the move to the outside. Watch this. Does he get the... Oh, look at that. He's braked very, very late. That was far too late. Runs it out over the AstroTurf. Left his braking far too late there. Just outbraked himself rather than Capit. But he's right back on his tail now as we are just over the 10 minutes in point in the race. Still all 13 drivers running, and I say 13 because Justin Barucki did make it in for the last couple of minutes of qualifying. He qualified 12th, he's now running 11th, so good to see Barucki in. We have 13 drivers here today, and there is still a battle for second going on. The pit window is opening in 4 minutes, so whether Al-Sabti is going to be able to get past now will probably determine his strategy. If he doesn't get past before the pit window, he may try to pit as early as he possibly can to try to get the undercut on Risto Capit and try to get ahead in that way. That, of course, being pitting early, getting the fresh rubber on your tyres and setting a blistering outlap and hoping you can get through. Well, he's back in the slipstream of Risto now. He's having a look. Look at this. He's certainly pasting his car exactly where the most aggressive place is, and Capit really needs to look in his mirrors. This is where they almost came to get, well, this is where Al-Sabti almost went straight on last time around, but actually I don't think it was. That was later on in the lap. That was the, yeah, here's where it happened last time out. Does he go for another move? If he does, it should be a better one than last time. Let's see. He's going to the outside again. It's almost a mirror image of last lap. Not quite so wide, but he still goes wide. And Capit still keeps the position. And Capit still in second place for now, followed by Al-Sabti. This is a titanic battle for second position in the race. At the start of the race, Al-Sabti dropped back to Baldi, and they had a properly titanic battle. Made contact on several occasions, but no one spun or had any damage from that, I think. So Al-Sabti and Baldi is still running okay, and Andrioni, I believe, is actually catching right onto this train now. So we got a 4-car battle for second position, and that's great to see. It's Capit from Al-Sabti, Baldi and Andrioni, and they are properly in touring car formation as we head through, what is this, lap 7 of the race. So the order is Siggy, Capit, Al-Sabti rather, Baldi, Andrioni, Schaefer, Vella, Serafian, Camilleri, Tabone, Barucki, Barbara and Zara. Those are the top 13 drivers in this race, and the only 13 drivers in this race. And that is the order that they line up in after almost 13 minutes of racing. Al-Sabti had to drop back slightly on that last lap from Capit. He certainly got quite close to him there, and now we're going to head out again towards Al-Sabti's prime attacking spot, which will be the corner of Campagnano. But he's not looking close enough this time. He does brake later than Capit there, though, as he did into the two right-hander chimney corners. And I'm sure that we have not seen the last of this battle yet. It might well be about to get strategical, as the pit window opens in about a minute and 16 seconds from when I said that, and that will be when the pit window opens. It'll be open for 10 minutes, and in those 10 minutes all the drivers must pit, and if they don't, they will be given a harsh penalty, and that will truly ruin their race. Capit being chased down by Al-Sabti, still Baldi and Andrioni are well and truly in their mirrors. Andrioni possibly has dropped back slightly, and this group of cars pulling well away from the rest of the pack. Siggy pulling well away from them. Siggy has truly had a brilliant start here. After 15 minutes almost, he's 6.3 seconds in the lead of the race as Capet is holding up Al Sabdi. So Al Sabdi will need to get very creative here if he's going to pass Capet and then catch the gap back. We've seen so far this season that it's very difficult to follow and overtake in these Porsche Super Cup cars. They're not like a single-seater where you get the proper sort of air block of the car in front, allowing for slipstreaming and passing like that. But anyway, Al Sabdi goes to the outside again. He tries to outbrake Capet and run his way around the outside. Baldi goes wide and even wider, goes off the road, in fact, very nearly. And if Baldi had seen what was happening with Al Sabdi and braked earlier, he could have got the switchback on him and possibly caused further headaches to this battle. Al Sabdi's tried the same thing again at the next corner of Torrentino, but no change there. Tomantino, rather. Tomantino is that corner. And
now, Joshua, the pit window is open also, so they have now 9.5 minutes to obviously pit, and we'll continue to see this battle between Risto and Honey.
Yeah, that was exactly what I was just about to say. The pit window's open, and look at Al Sabdi, just as I predicted. Al Sabdi is going for the undercut on Risto Capet. I said he'd be in quickly if he didn't manage to get through before the pit window. He is, and that's a good decision from Al Sabdi. And if he makes no mistakes on this outlap, he should be able to jump Risto Capet, who is still going around on more worn rubber. And as a result, that's a good move from Hani Al Sabdi rather, and we'll see what Capet can do to attempt to stay ahead. If I was Capet, I would have been torn between pitting on that lap to prevent Al Sabdi from getting the undercut, or staying out just in case Al Sabdi didn't pit that lap, because then of course you hamper Al Sabdi further, and either of those things would have been good options for Capet. But we'll see if this one pays off. Of course, he would have liked Al Sabdi to have stayed out of the pits there. This has kind of given him a bit of a headache here, but now this might actually allow Baldi onto his tail. So maybe Al Sabdi was indirectly holding up Baldi, and now Baldi can have a bit of a swipe at Risto Capet. We'll see how that happens. So, did anyone else of note pit on that lap? I'm not sure that anyone did. I don't think so anyway. No one really from the top of the order, if anyone did. Whatever the case, still Kevin Siggy stays out another lap as we expected he would. I expect Siggy will try to go right until the end of this pit window, because he's got no one around him on track. So he wants to keep going around to minimise the second stint and keep the tyres fresh all the way through, and that's why he's staying out of the pits for now. Following him, 7.8 seconds behind is Risto Capet, so that gap is still coming out between Siggy and Capet. Siggy is absolutely blitzing away at the front of the order, and that is a real change, because before, of course, it was a clear order in the championship. Al Sabdi won both races, Capet was second in both races, and Siggy was third in both races. But so far in this race, that order has been completely reversed at the front of the order, with the top three still being the top three, but in the opposite order to the order they are usually in. So, of course, a lot of people were saying to me that this series is going to be an absolute Al Sabdi fest, and it might well win every race. So far, this race hasn't been looking so good for him, so I'm not sure that really will happen, but we'll have to see. We know that Al Sabdi is still a very quick driver, so still plenty of time for things to change. He was getting rather annoyed before the race, actually. I don't know what about. He was initially calling for drop scores to be implemented, because he thought he was going to have to miss this round, and he thought that wasn't fair, that the others who could make every round had an advantage, a one race advantage over him. But then again, if you score points, you score points, and if you don't score points, you don't. So that's just how racing goes. And seeing as drop scores were never included in the rulebook, they can't be included now. And I think that's the fairest thing to do. Into the pits comes Keith Camilleri from 9th position now. is our next driver to stop. He was running just behind Gary Serafian. And, well, something changed in the order. I think Baldi pitted. Did he? I'm not sure. But whatever happened, there was a slight change in the order at the front. Camilleri just exiting the pits now. Gets out just ahead of Omar Barber, I think. And I don't think Barber is going to have enough of a run to get past him here. Zara, as well, has got past Tabone, so I expect Tabone pitted on that lap. We are well and truly in the pit stages at the minute. So when will the top guys duck in? I think we'll have to do it this lap or next lap. It would be a bit dangerous to run any further, just in case of the time, because there are about 4 minutes remaining, and Siggy, well, actually, I think he has 2 more laps to choose from in terms of pitting. Stays out in the lead of the race. What about the drivers behind? Do they pit early for just a safety buffer, possibly even in case they forget to pit? I've seen that happen a couple of times. Still, it looks as if everyone is staying out. Actually, Bernard Vella pits from 7th in the order. So Vella is the next driver in. The RPM Esports drivers seem to be coming in quickly, as we've seen Camilleri and DeBone both pitting already. So RPM Esports obviously not willing to go right to the end of their pits windows. Omar Barber in as well. So now we have all 4 of the RPM Esports drivers who have been into the pits, and still over 3 minutes remaining in the pit window time. Tabone has got right onto the back of Zara now, so Tabone, on a different strategy to Zara, has caught him. Zara is yet to pit, so this is really hampering Tabone's strategy, finding himself behind Sandro Zara, and he'll want to get past Zara as quickly as he possibly can. But that's proving difficult so far. Zara goes wide, does he? Well, it looks as if he's locking up slightly, but everything seems relatively okay. And as they head down towards the right-hander at... oh, look at that! That's Zara locking up and going very, very wide. And through goes Brandon Tabone. So Zara loses that one, just runs wide in the corner, and Tabone gets through. And still, we've seen another lap without Siggy or Capit pitting. And Capit has not lost another... He's lost another second. So Capit is now 9.3 seconds, rather, behind Kevin Siggy. This is a huge gap, and Siggy is obviously a massive fan of the track. Into the pits comes Gary Serafian, gets close to the barrier. Then again, everywhere on that pit entrance is close to the barrier. So Serafian pits from 7th. Of course, these orders are subject to getting sorted out by further pit stops. Sandro Zara now pits in, possibly used up all of his tyres, and that might have been why he ran, or one of the reasons he ran wide when he was running ahead of Brandon Tabone, and Tabone is now up into 11th position. So Zara has pitted his car there. And that will put him back to the back of the order behind Omar Barbara, who pitted just now. In fact, Barbara gets out just ahead of him there. So they are back into their proper positions, we should say. And now Siggy pits, so the race leader is in. This is pretty much the last chance he would have got. So Kevin Siggy is in. It would have been pretty close if he'd been left out another lap. And as I expected, Risto Capit is also in, as will the guys behind him be. So Andrioni pits and Schaefer pits. The next guy on track not to have pitted yet is Hani Al Sabdi in 5th position. Oh no, 2 have pitted rather. It's Hani Al Sabdi. So let's see where Al Sabdi slots in. I expect he's going to be 2nd. Siggy has exited the pits already. Capit is leaving the pits. Has Al Sabdi gone through? It's going to be close. Al Sabdi goes through into 2nd. Al Sabdi has jumped Capit in the pit stages. I expected he would. So Al Sabdi has put in a good outlap, and Capit is actually quite a long way back now. So a good strategy call for Hani Al Sabti to undercut Risto Capit has paid off, and Al Sabti is now second, followed by Risto Capit and Richard Schaefer. Oh no, Schaefer is behind Baldi, so Baldi has got. Well, I think he was going to be ahead of Schaefer anyway in their battle for fourth in the championship and fourth on the road. And couple more positions being sorted out due to pit stops as well. I think Baruki pitted on that last lap. Yes, he did. So Baruki is registered in 8th at the moment, but I believe he's going to be dropped a long way down the order as they cross the line, and every time sorts itself out. Now, hopefully everyone's pitted by now because the pit window has come to a close. So that was a very interesting section of the race, and it has been significant in terms of both the championship and the race, because Al Sabdi, our championship leader, has jumped Capit, second in the championship, for second in the race. Still, neither of these guys are anywhere near Kevin Siggy yet. Let's see what the gap is at the end of this lap. Siggy crosses the line to end another lap. That was lap 15. He's on lap 16 now. And across the line is going to come Capit, Al Sabdi, 9.8 seconds behind. That's a huge lead for Kevin Siggy with over half of the race still to go. So still time for things to change, but it's looking good for Kevin Siggy now, followed by Hani Al Sabdi, Risto Capit, Gergo Baldi, Richard Schaefer, Dario Andrioni. I'm reading out the positions after the pit stages. Those were the top 6, separated by 21.7 seconds. Bernard Vella comes through, 36 seconds behind. He is in 7th position. 8th is Keith Camilleri. For now, Capit and Baldi are actually quite close on track for 3rd place. They're within a second of each other. So Baldi might well launch an attack on Risto Capit now. Capit appears to have, well, he was appearing to struggle slightly before they entered the pits. Now, will the fresher rubber really wake up Capit now, or is Baldi going to really come into his own here and get ahead of Risto Capit? It's going to be difficult, but he's going to give it a try. 9th place now is Justin Baruki, followed by 10th Brandon Tabone, 11th Garo Serafian, and then Omar Barbara and Sandro Zara round out the field. Still no lappers yet, so all of the drivers are on the lead lap of the race still, and it's still pretty much a well, we still got over half of the race to go, so still a long race from here. Plenty of time for things to change. Now, what will Baldi do? Baldi is in the slipstream of Risto Capit as they head down the start-finish straight. Now, how close will he get on this lap? He's about 6 tenths behind, so he gained about 2 tenths on that lap. Now, what we'll often see happen in this series is that a car will catch up to the back of the car ahead, have an attack at it, and then drop back if it's not successful, and wait a few laps just to regroup and regain the rhythm, and then go in for it again. We've seen that happening a couple of times in this series, and that might well be what happens today. Let's watch what Baldi does. Of course, if he can pull it off the first time, or force Capit into a big mistake, then all the better for him, I suppose. These two definitely the closest on the track, with just 6 tenths separating them as they cross the start-finish line last time around. We have just under 32 minutes of the race remaining, and it's Kevin Siggy leading for Edge Esports. If they scored a win in their first race as Edge Esports, that would be a good memory, a good trophy to put on the shelf. Hani Al Sabti is second for Magcape, third is Risto Capit for ACR Zakspeed, fourth is Gergo Baldi, but only just fourth in the other Edge Esports driver. It's been the other Edge Esports car rather. Been a good day for Edge Esports so far. And fifth in the other ACR Zakspeed car is Richard Schaefer. It tends to be those 3 teams at the top of the order here. It tends to be Madcape, ACR Zakspeed, and Edge Esports / Waters Automotive, which they were before, at the top of the order. Of course, Madcape only with 1 driver, and that is Hani Al Sabti. And I don't think that there is a team's championship, so that doesn't matter too much. That is just basically a the teams are really just there for branding reasons. And we currently have our third placed driver in terms of the championship leading the race from first from second. The gap, incidentally, between third and fourth again was 0.6 of a second as they went across the line that time around. That gap is very, very steady. It's like two boxers sizing each other up before a match. Baldi is saying, "What have you got, Risto?" And Risto is saying, "Exactly what you've got. You can't pass me." And their last lap was pretty much exactly the same. Hani Al Sabdi is flying now, trying to pull the gap back to Kevin Siggy, who set a race best in the first sector so far, and he does currently hold the fastest lap of the race. So Al Sabdi currently holds the fastest lap of the race by over 1/10 of a second from Kevin Siggy, and it looks as if he's on for another one here. He might well be about to set an even quicker one, and he does. And he pulls the gap back to 9 seconds. He's really pulling that gap in. And the gap for second again stays at 0.6 of a second. The gap for third, rather, again stays at 0.6 of a second. So those two have been really, really trading lap times here. They are both in the 1:34.4s on that last lap, both Capit and Baldi. This gap is not coming down or out. All it takes there is one mistake from Risto Capit and Baldi will be right with him. Or one mistake from Baldi and his chances of passing Capit are gone, especially for the meantime. And he's actually run slightly over the curb there, so Baldi losing a bit of momentum over the outside curb there on the exit of, I think that was the second chimney corner. Actually, I don't think it was. That would have been Campagnano, I think. I'm saying these names mainly to get myself used to the circuit because this is the first time I've ever seen a race at Vallelunga. It's a very impressive track, I'd say. I wasn't really expecting much from it, but I like the layout. It doesn't look like it was just made to be a test track like some tracks do. It looks as if it was properly designed with racing in mind, and I like that about a track when you have good slipstreaming opportunities, outbraking opportunities, opportunities to make mistakes and to make time up, and that's what this track appears to be good at. Incidentally, Kevin Siggy is responding to Hani Al Sabdi's quick turn of pace as he sets his fastest lap of the race so far, which is actually quicker than Hani Al Sabdi's last lap was. So Siggy trying to keep the gap steady. He's really, really reacted to Al Sabdi behind. And if they can try to have a battle of who's quicker, then it might well turn into a battle of who's quicker when their tyres last. Or who can make their tyres last while they're quick, really. They'll both be thinking about that now. Al Sabdi really wants to catch Siggy. Siggy does not want that gap to get any closer than it already is. As again, a big mistake from Siggy, like a spin, will drop him right back to Al Sabdi. So it's still close for the third. Again, very similar lap times between the two. Capit pulling out slightly though due to Baldi's mistake, but the gap there still less than a second. It's still a proper battle for third. Baldi will still be feeling the effects of the slipstream as he goes down the straight. The car just feels so kind of easy and so much like it's on rails in a straight line, and then so much like it struggles through the corner as you get the turbulent air of the car ahead. It really is like an old-fashioned train, really. It feels nice and easy when it's going in a straight line, and then it goes bump, bump, bump through the corners. That's what following a car ahead of you is like a lot of the time. And the gap now has come out to over a second. So, as I said, Baldi had an attack at Capit and then didn't make it stick, made an error and dropped back slightly. And now he's just regrouping himself and trying to regain the rhythm. And no doubt he'll be having another attack at Risto Capit before long. And the gap for the lead is coming out. It's actually at 2.2, almost 2.3 seconds now. So Siggy has truly well and truly responded, Daniel Sabdubine, and he's more consistent. They're both setting very quick laps, but Siggy is setting more consistent quick laps, with his last lap being very near to his best lap, less than a tenth off it. It was actually about 4 thousandths off being a tenth off it. So, again, it's Siggy leading from Al Sabdi, Capit, Baldi and Schaefer as we have 25 minutes of this race remaining. 25 minutes from the 60 minutes, 1 hour that we had when this race began. We missed the first 10 minutes of the broadcast, sadly, due to technical issues. That was the time when Al Sabdi really dropped back through the order after a bad start and had to fight his way back through past Baldi initially with a little bit of contact, and then past Capit, which he did in the pit stages using the undercut. Meanwhile, Keith Camilleri is setting blistering times. Those are his quickest times of the session in his pursuit of the driver ahead, who is Bernard Vella. He is catching him by about 0.4 of a second per lap, or at least caught him by about 0.4 of a second on that last lap. So Vella and Camilleri might well bunch together towards the end of the race. Of course, those two are teammates at RPM Esports, but of course, as there is no teams championship in this series, it is all about each individual driver for himself. As Baldi brings the gap down for third. Again, it's now less than a second apart, so again the battle is on. And still, you can't write this off as being over yet, because all it takes is one more twist in the tail, and you have them right with each other again. We saw that in Monza, of course. It looked very much like Rick Schaefer was going to bring the car home in second position. And then he just ran over the dirt and the dust on the exit of the Variante Ascari and lost a place to both his teammate Risto and also Kevin Siggy. They both went through right at the end of the race. It was very close. If Schaefer hadn't done that, it would have been quite a predictable race. But of course, racing is never predictable. It can always throw up a real challenge for any of these drivers. Even when the leaders get into backmarker traffic, they can be 40 seconds ahead for all they like. But if the backmarkers don't cooperate, that can close right down or even put them out of the race. So it doesn't even have to be your own fault that something bad happens in your race. We hope that it doesn't, of course, but it doesn't have to be your fault if that does happen. I think Baldi just dropped back from Capit there. I wasn't exactly looking at the time, but I think Baldi may have made an error. Dropped back from Capit a bit there. Actually, that is quite a bit. He was about 7 tenths behind for this section. Going to have a look on the stream to see if I...
Actually, gotta go Baldi. In fact, in this lap, he just lost a little bit his car, so but he managed to obviously regain control.
So Baldi has dropped back a bit from Risto Capit. That's for third position. I'm just seeing that on the stream now. Whoa, that's a big slide. Yep, gets over the sausage curb and into the gravel. That was actually a very good save. He just lost the rear end of the car through the two chimney corners. Got it sideways, got it over the sausage curb on the inside. Of course, you have no traction at all when the car is up in the air. And that meant that he just sort of slid out wide into the gravel on the outside, and that's going to lose him a lot of time. We'll see what the gap is this time round as he crosses the line. But it's going to be significantly increased, I'm sure, from what it was at before. Indeed, the gap is about 3.3 seconds now between Capit and Baldi for third position. So that has come out. And Al Sabdi, for the first time, is within 9 seconds of Kevin Siggy, for the first time in a very long time. So the gap for the lead fluctuates, but does, I think, on average, come down. Now, I still think that it's not coming down quick enough, and if Siggy just holds on and doesn't make an error, then Al Sabdi will have to settle for second for this race, and that will break his perfect win streak so far in this series. He won at Brands Hatch, he won at Monza, but if it stays like this, he won't win here today. He will still be quite comfortably in the lead of the championship, but he won't be leading it. Well, no, he will be, but he won't have won this race, rather. he won't be on perfect points. That's what I'm trying to say. I believe we've just had our first lappery, actually. It appears that Kevin Siggy is ahead now on track of Sandro Zara. That is indeed the case. So our first lappery has taken place. Zara is now a lap down from Kevin Siggy. And we're expecting a lot more of that to occur later on as Siggy builds up a more of a gap from the cars behind and therefore catches the back markers ahead of him. It is quite amazing to think that a driver can do a whole lap more than another in such a short amount of time. But that is the case with racing. It just shows what a good driver Kevin Siggy is. Because Zara, you have to remember, even Zara's been practicing for a very, very long time. And even Zara's very competitive. That's coming out wrong, actually, if I'm saying even Zara. I don't mean it in that way. But the drivers at the back of the order are still very, very strong. Remember that the way that the drivers were picked for this series is that there was a practice server put up, a time trial rather, at the Mount Panorama circuit in this car, and the top 20 drivers were selected to have entries to this series. Of course, we don't get 20 entries because some drivers didn't take up that entry or just haven't been able to make it in. But at least we do. That does ensure that the quality of racing is very good, because it means that the drivers who race here are very, very high quality, very fast at such a challenging circuit as Bathurst, which isn't on the calendar but is still a very good test track if you're testing mainly the driver. Could never happen in real life, of course, because Bathurst is partially a street circuit. Effectively, it's run on a public road up the side of the mountain, and as a result, in reality, you can't have a server or a race event going on for that long at Bathurst. But here you can. That's one of the things you can do in sim racing, of course. Endless street races. Sim racing has a lot of advantages that you don't get in reality. Another of which being that accidents don't injure you for a start. Al Sabdi is now flying again. He's set a session best or a race best first sector of anyone. So Al Sabdi going for the fastest lap of the race here. He already holds it. He's quicker than Kevin Siggy in terms of one lap pace, and he is slowly and gradually bringing that gap down. But Siggy is still going very, very quickly out front there, and is still keeping the gap steady and reducing the speed at which Al Sabdi is reeling him in. There is still every chance that Siggy is going to hold on to this race win here, even though Al Sabdi has won both races so far this series, and even though he is hounding him down, carving his way through these corners like a hot knife through butter. There goes Al Sabdi through the final corner. This is going to be the fastest lap of the race, so Al Sabdi properly thrashing it round. 133.6, and that, I think, would have actually put him second in qualifying, behind actually his own lap. So that may well be qualifying pole time there. Wow. So Al Sabdi again, just like he did in Brands Hatch and Monza, sets a lap which could have put him very high up in the order in qualifying. And you very rarely see that in the race because of the tyre wear and because of the losses, or because of the extra fuel. But still an incredible lap.
Actually, so just Garo Sarafian spinning and getting off track. Actually, he was like very close to Brendan Tabone. So, but now he lost a lot of time and obviously lost even his position.
Yeah, he did indeed. It looks to me as if he has lost a position to Omar Barbara, possibly. Actually, I'm not sure if he has lost any positions. It looks to me as if he's still running in 11th position. That car ahead, I think, is... Who is that car ahead of him? It's one of the RPM Esports guys, as Capit laps Zara. Well, whoever it is. Serafian is still it looks to be in 11th position, and if that's where he was before, then he hasn't lost any positions. But still, not ideal to have a spin. It ruins your tyres and does very bad things to your confidence as well. Yeah, it looks to me as if, yeah, I've just had a look back on the stream. We didn't see the actual method of spin. He's just kind of spun around there on the outside of the circuit, run through the gravel and got going again. Although that car that passed him there, I think, is a lap ahead. That RPM Esport car. I wouldn't think so though, because they're not particularly high up in the order, the RPM Esports guys. So, well, whoever it was, they're ahead of him, and it wasn't a change of position. So, oh well. I was. In fact, Omar Barber appears to be ahead of him on track now. So
Yeah,
I think it's just been changed,
Yeah, because actually Garo again went off track now. I don't know what happened to him. He's like going off track quite often now, so obviously losing time and position now. So.
Oh, Garo really struggling, obviously. Oh, what happened? I've just seen it on the stream. Is he got two wheels over the white line, entering one of the hairpins there, and the car just sort of slithered off using the grass, actually clouted the barrier, so he might well have slight damage after that. I'll try to ride on board with him and see if I can spot any suspension or any steering hanging or anything like that. Well, the glass is shattered, so the windscreen has had severe damage, and that steering looks fine to me. But whatever the case, Gara needs to stop doing that. I'm not sure why he has been having so many mistakes recently. Maybe he's just lost his confidence, but whatever the case. Don't do that! Oh my word, he's made another one in exactly the same way, in exactly the same place. He does it again. He pulls dramatically over the track, gets over the white line on the entrance to the corner, bounces over the grass. The car's got no traction then, it's bouncing up in the air, and it just slithers straight on. He's done that 2 laps in a row. Stop doing that. Well, one of the most important things to do as a driver is that you learn from your mistakes. It's very embarrassing when you don't. But whatever the case, that's happened again, and a very scary situation. Didn't clout the barrier this time through, luckily, but still 3 mistakes in as many laps from Gary Sarafian. He's having a tough time of it today. Now, we still have 12, almost 13 minutes remaining in this race. And the gap for the lead has come down again. It's 7.5 seconds now. 7.5 seconds for the lead. It's still not coming down quick enough to change before the end of the race at this rate. They would need Siggy to make a properly big mistake here. And we all know Siggy's a good driver, very consistent one. Sarafian again makes a mistake, bounces over the grass on the exit final corner. He's having a really tough time. The car's looking very, very dirty and very sorry for it tonight. Looking down the order, 2 cars also close to each other on track. Still are Capit and Baldi. They are still about 3.7 seconds apart. They might well be the closest cars actually for position on track. Schaefer and Andreoni have a gap of about 3.7 as well. So Schaefer and Andreoni is another battle that, well, isn't really a battle yet, but is still happening. They're still running quite close to each other. Sarafian and Barbara were close, but Sarafian keeps making errors and dropping back from Barbara every time I look. It's a shame, but anyway. Fastest lap still held by Hani Al Sabdi with that blistering 133.614. Although not far off that is Kevin Siggy with a 133.826. So some very quick laps being set in this race. They've dropped off the pace a bit now. They're in the 134s. Early 134s the leading guys are, but still very quick laps. Those would have given them, I think, fifth or sixth in qualifying, and because they were both in qualifying anyway, that would have given them third or fourth on the grid if those were their actual laps. So still very good laps from these two cars at the front of the order. Still absolutely pushing at this stage in the race. Al Sabdi to try to catch Siggy, and Siggy to try to pull away, of course. It's all a battle of who can force the other one, who can psychologically force the other one into an error. Siggy just needs to keep his nose clean, make sure that he doesn't get involved in any silly incidents, maybe with a back marker or with himself. He just needs to keep it clean for the remaining 10 minutes of this race, and then he will bring home his first win of the series, and the first win of the series earned by anyone other than Hani Al Sabdi, who did claim pole for this round, but then dropped back at the start and never managed to catch Siggy again after that bad start for Hani Al Sabdi, and he will not be best pleased with that because he was already annoyed before the race began. There was some interesting language going on just before the drivers' briefing, but whatever the case, Al Sabdi still running second and still the quickest driver on the circuit at this point in time. We are now on lap 32 of the race, so many laps have been completed, a couple more still to come. 9 minutes is roughly, well, it's probably about 6 laps. We don't know where they are. Well, I do know where they are on the track. Yeah, that's probably about 6 laps. So the gap for the lead, 6.7 seconds. It's come down another second, or another 7/10 as I dropped something. Since last time I mentioned it, it is coming down, but still not quick enough for Hani Al Sabdi's liking. Siggy still very much in the driver's seat of this race so far, and needs to make sure he doesn't make any unnecessary errors. Edge Esports in their first race are first and fourth. Of course, they are still the same team as Waters Automotive were, but now they've been rebranded as Edge Esports. The team boss, of course, still Andreas Waters. There's been no change there, and the two drivers also no change, Siggy and Baldi. And a very good, very strong lineup that is, of course, with Siggy third in the championship, Baldi equal fourth in the championship, and Siggy about to win this race if things continue in this way. Still setting very quick lap times. And Al Sabdi just set 2 lap times, which were very close to the fastest lap of the race. So Al Sabdi is still able to push his car right to the limit here. He's lost no pace at all. His last lap, in fact, was still a 1:33.6, which is the fastest lap. It wasn't quite as quick as his previous 1:33.6, though. But it was very close and a very quick lap. Great driving from Hani Al Sabdi to try to close down the gap on Kevin Siggy. Possibly try to force him into back markers ahead and cause Siggy to get boxed in a bit. Of course, Al Sabdi would have liked it at this stage if there had been more back markers on the track to hamper Siggy. But then again, anyone who hampers Siggy might well hamper Al Sabdi as well. Of course, the difference usually is that if the first place car forces a back marker to get out of the way, then the second place car has an easy route through, because the back marker tends to stay out of the way until the track behind is clear. So it usually tends to be that traffic goes in favour of the cars behind, but today there isn't really much traffic and everyone appears to be abiding by the rules and doing well to keep out of each other's ways, so that's a very good thing to see. And still, it looks as if Brandon Tabone's going to be the next driver to get lapped on track, although he's one driver I wouldn't expect to get in the way too much. I believe he stood on the podium of some of our casual races in the past. Al Sabdi, of course, won the Ginetta G55 race we did at Road Atlanta a while ago. That was a dominant display from Hani Al Sabdi. And also a winner of one of those events was Bernard Vella. He won the AMG GT3, or no, the GT3 race we did rather. There were a couple of AMGs. And indeed, Brandon Tabone now does get out of the way of Kevin Siggy. Siggy laps him cleanly and goes through. So well done to Tabone for getting out of the way cleanly and quickly. That's something that not all drivers remember to do or are able to do. Of course, the difficulty with getting out of the way of the leaders is that if you go offline sometimes, the offline section of the circuit sometimes does become the racing line, and that can become very, very tricky and very awkward for the drivers attempting to get through, the quicker drivers who are battling for higher positions in the race. And that, of course, is one of the most irritating things for a race leader. But no real Oh! Who's that? Oh, Baruki. Okay, I thought that, well, I just saw the black front of a car going off the road, and I thought it was Al Sabdi to start off with. It wasn't, it was Justin Baruki, but still, that was a big moment. He did hit the wall, actually. It looks as if he just got over the curb in a very sort of, well, a very similar way to the way we saw his teammate Serafian doing earlier on in the race. That was a close one, I tell you. Very, very dangerous situation when you see a car getting over the grass and going into the barrier sideways. It often really does dink the suspension. I'm going to ride on board with Baruki Ney to see if I can see any damage that may have occurred to the steering of this car. The windscreen seems fine, interestingly, which wasn't the case with his teammate, but the windscreen of Baruki's car still looks to be in tip-top condition. Maybe not quite as hard a hit as Serafian had, but still pretty scary situation for Justin Baruki. He's just going through the S's now, so it's hard to see if he has got any suspension damage. He looks as if he's being very cautious about it, and that looks all fine to me, so I think that he's got away with it, but it was certainly something that you shouldn't do too many times, and in reality you might well not have got away with it. Camilleri is really, really pulling in the gap on Vella ahead, as I said he was doing earlier on. He's now got, I think, within a second of him. We'll see as he crosses the line next time around. He's certainly got very close, and it's certainly, well, I do think it is within a second. These two are technically teammates, but they won't remember that. So we'll see what happens there. They only have 3 minutes left to battle before the race is declared. And it's still Siggy leading from Al Sabdi, Capit, Baldi, Schaefer, Andrioni, Vella, Camilleri, Baruki and Tabone. Those are the top 10 drivers in this race so far. And also scoring points for finishing, Serafian, Barbara and Zara. Still all 13 drivers running in this race, and that's great to see.
So Garo Serafian is actually under investigation, and will obviously look at the incident after the race on Omar Barbara.
So it seems as if Barbara and Serafian have made contact somewhere. It's actually now Serafian ahead of Barbara, although he's just let him through. So Serafian, I don't know if he's probably doing that to see if he can avoid getting a penalty for it, but he's just let Barbara through. I'm going to go back in the stream to see if I can figure out what happened there. It looks to me as if they... Well, here we go. So it was coming through the S's, the second S. Ooh, Barbara gives... Serafian gives Barbara a little bit of a shove there and spins Barbara around, but really there wasn't much that Serafian could have done about that, in my opinion, because often it is difficult when you see a car just suddenly where you're going to put yourself, and that often does sort itself out like that, as Serafian gets up the inside again of Barbara and gets through legitimately this time into 11th position. So that's changed very close to the end of the race. We'll see what the stewards judge with the Serafian Barbara incident though. And still the top drivers are setting quick laps, even at this very late stage in the race, as Siggy puts in the very fastest Sector 1 time of the race that he's done. Now, will this be the final lap of the race, or will we have one more after this? It's going to be a close call as to whether the timer ticks to 0 before he crosses the line or after it. Now, if many drivers were Siggy, they'd be backing off now, backing off to make sure that this is the final lap of the race. I believe that it will be. Yes, this is the final lap. So Siggy is going to take the checkered flag this time around. He's only got 2 more corners to go. They're both right-handers. And with 10 seconds to go, I do believe this is the end of the race. Actually, it's going to be close. He might well get one more lap here. Is it the end? Did he just finish? No, looks like he's still going. That was extremely close there. That was, well, Siggy got so close to finishing the race. I thought he had finished. But anyway, looks as if, oh, he crossed the line with just under 4/10 of a second to go. If he'd been if he'd been 4/10 of a second slower on that lap, he would have won the race then and not had to worry about doing another lap. So Siggy, a bit of a miscalculation there, very funny miscalculation. But let's just enjoy this final lap of the race. Now Siggy will just need to keep it clean. It would be absolutely heartbreaking if he was to break it now, if he was to lose it now, and therefore lose the race by effectively 4/10 of a second, because that was all it took for that not to be announced as the final lap there, that last lap. But this now is definitely the final lap of the race, with Siggy leading it from Al Sabdi. He is just lapping. I think that's Justin Barucki. He just lapped. Yes, it is. Barucki running in 9th position. Siggy leading from Al Sabdi, Capit, Baldi, Schaefer. Those are the top 5. Who are also the top 5 in the championship, but in a different order. And this is going to be the first race that Al Sabdi does not win. Final corner now for Kevin Siggy. He's going to claim it properly this time around. He exits the final corner of the race, and Kevin Siggy is our first non-Hani Al Sabdi winner of 2018. Al Sabdi is second, so Siggy wins it there. Al Sabdi is going to have to settle for 2nd position. There he goes. Hani Al Sabdi second. Siggy has won the race. Risto Capit is going to be 3rd, and I think it's going to be Siggy who's 2nd in the championship now. So I think Capit lost a position in the championship in that round. I'll try to work that out after this race finishes. So Capit rounds the final corner now and slows dramatically. Baldi goes through right at the end. Has Capit run out of fuel? Is he coasting across the line? Well, whatever's happened, Capit has lost 3rd at the very, very end. Wow. Well, that's dramatic. So Capit loses 3rd, and Gergo Baldi gets it. The final podium spot for the other Edge Esports guy. In fact, well, they all pulled off into bits, never mind. But Edge Esports, a double podium in their first race as Edge Esports. And Baldi beat Capit there by, well, on the final straight. So I don't know how that happened, but we'll see if we can figure it out and piece it together after the race. Andreoni claims 6th position. 7th, and just is going to be Bernard Vella. He hangs on from his teammate Keith Camilleri. So Vella is 7th. Camilleri is 8th. I've got the hiccups. That always happens after a close finish, or an exciting finish rather. And Justin Barucki is going to be our first driver through to finish a lap down. He claims 9th position there. 9th goes the way of Justin Barucki. 10th was Brandon Tabone. 11th, Garo Serafian. 12th, Omar Barbara. And 13th, Sandro Zara. So that is the end of this round 3 of Sim Racing Malta 2018. Stay with us for the interviews. We're going to interview some of the drivers and piece together some of the various pieces of points of action in that race. And that was a very well-deserved win from Kevin Siggy, who truly ran away with it and eventually won it by 5.4 seconds. While Sabdi was catching him, and was catching him considerably, but not enough to win the race. So the interviews are starting very, very quickly here today. and we have a couple of drivers just being loaded in. The first driver here was Gergo Baldi. Hello, Gergo. I believe the drivers are still muted. That often needs to be changed before they can speak. So if one of the administrators can alter that, then we can allow the drivers speaking permissions and interview them first. Right. Well, it looks as if the first driver to interview, appearing as he is the first driver to not have the mute sign next to his name, is going to be Kevin Siggy. So hello, Kevin.
Hello.
So you've won the race. That was a very, very good race. Possibly dominated, but Hanny was really catching you at the end there. Did you were you threatened by that, or did you think you had enough of a gap by then?
I think I had enough of a gap after the pit stops already, so I wasn't too scared of it. I was surprised he was a bit quicker than me after the pit stops, because beforehand it was like 8 tenths slower, but then he was faster, so I was a bit surprised, but still it wasn't too much pressure.
And talk to us about that start, because you got away okay. Al Sabdi didn't. I mean, were you expecting to be leading the race by the end of the first sector?
Hell no. I mean, I did pretty much the perfect start. I was practicing more the starts because I never practiced them before the first two races. So, and I think I got a good getaway with the clutch and the throttle as well. So I was pretty lucky with that.
Well, it truly was an inspiring performance. Very quick, fastest lap as well. You didn't quite claim the fastest lap of the race, but even yours would have been quick enough for second in qualifying. So great, I think so anyway. It was very close. So great performance there. And what do you think in terms of the championship? Do you think that you can truly take the fight to Capitan Al Sabdi as the season progresses?
I think I can put up a fight with Risto because we are similar with pace, but with Hani, I don't know. I still need to work on the setup a bit and see how well where he does well in what sectors and stuff. So I think Risto is the target for now. But if I get many more places ahead of Hani, then I think I'll fight him as well.
Well, I'm just doing a bit of quick arithmetic, and I believe you've actually moved ahead of Risto Caput in the championship there. So it appears that we've had a change for second. Anyway, great to hear from you, Kevin. Very, very good, very solid victory there. And we now have a couple more drivers to interview. So these next couple of interviews will be quicker than the first. But going in terms of alphabetical order, apologies, Risto, we're going to start with Gergo Baldi at the third position. So hello, Gergo.
Hi, hello, hi everyone.
Now, third position. That was a little bit unexpected towards the end. There, but you've been having a good race up until that point. Very hairy start with Al Sabdi. Many points of contact. Yeah, bit scary. What does it look like from inside the car?
Well, to be honest, I really enjoyed that first lap. Actually, I think we were both harsh with each other, but also both of us left enough space for the others. So I think it was okay, at least from my side. After that, I tried to keep up with the guys in front, but yeah, I simply couldn't find the rhythm with this car yet still. So yeah, I was lucky to see them fight and to be close to them. And yeah, after the pit, I was behind Risto, and I was also closing on him, but then I had a mistake in turn 3, I guess. So I fall back, I don't know, 4 seconds behind him. And after that, I was demotivated. I had a 5-second gap in front of me and 7 seconds behind me, so I had nothing to go for. Yeah, but then at the end, I had some luck, so yeah, it was fine.
And talking of that luck, we're going to come back to that in a minute to figure out exactly what happened. You don't have any ideas yourself, do you, Gergo?
Should be fuel, I think so.
Yeah, I expected fuel as well. So we'll find out in a minute. I'm going to go still through the order in the order that they appear to me though. So next up is Hani Al Sabdi. Hello, Hani.
Hi there.
So this was the first race this season that you didn't win. So Are you disappointed with that, or do you think that this was the best you could have done today?
No, I really enjoyed this race. I think this was by far the most fun race so far. Battling with the guys, trying to attack. That was really fun. I mean, I was planning not to race at all today, so I didn't have any practice. But I knew the track very well. Not the combo with the Porsche car, but the track I knew it from hot lapping some years ago. So I just fired the brand height setup and it worked on this track. So I just had to find my breaking points and yeah, but the consistency wasn't as good as I wished. But still, all in all, congrats to Kevin. Really good performance today, and also the deserved win. Definitely, I couldn't catch up to him because my tires at the end started to wear down a lot at the rear, so it was like trying to survive and still closing the gap bit by bit. But the gap was already way too big because of me fighting Risto, and yeah, we lost a lot of time there.
So you're saying that you'd had no practice at this track in this car this week, and yet you still turned up, put on a random setup that you'd used before in one of these races, and stuck it on pole by 0.3 of a second. That's
Yeah, that's about it. Yeah.
really quite something, Hanny. Really quite something. Um, bit of a dodgy start though. Talk us through that.
Well, I knew my start wouldn't go as good as the other guys. I knew Risto would have a good start, but I didn't know like three guys around me would have a better start. And so I had to defend from Gergo. Otherwise, it's gonna be really difficult to overtake here. So I defended, but he was already next to me, and we were side by side, corner by corner, corner by corner. I tried to stay inside for the next corner at all costs. And sometimes I tried to check if he's already behind me or not, and that's where the contact happened because of me going his way and trying to figure out am I in front or not.
Well, it was certainly very entertaining, and as you said, very exciting for you. Not just running away with it this time, actually having to properly fight for it the whole way through. And yeah, great to hear about that. Also, before we move on to the next interview, Edge Esports has just reminded me on Facebook that it's not just the hardworking people behind the wheel of the cars who put in the effort for a race win like that. Of course, Edge Esports finishing first and third, but of course the team boss Andreas Fortes, the technical director Daniel Sharanku, they are constantly pushing these guys, as said, and I'm sure that every team has people like that who really put the operation together. Anyway, now moving on to our final interviewee, last but not least, Risto Caput.
Hello.
Hello, Risto. So you were running second initially, got undercutted by Hani. I can imagine that that was a bit disappointing at the time.
Well, after seeing qualifying where he was half a second faster than me, then it was a good race. Well, I thought I would know for sure that Kevin was running away with it, but I was surprised I could battle Honey. It was great fun. I knew that he would try to undercut me, but I hoped that maybe there are other guys in the pack who would fight him as hard as me, so maybe I could stay in front and fight until the end. But yeah, he just went past me as I exited the pit, so that was that done. But yeah, it was fun. The first half of the race was over my expectations.
And then the second half of the race, you were running in third for pretty much the entire thing until the end. Now, did you run out of fuel? What happened?
Yes, I did. I always play quite safe with the fuel. I put a lap extra for sure, but I did not expect this time there were guys to lap about a second per lap faster, so they went even one extra lap. So yeah, I just ran out in the end. I realized it for some reason only at the final lap, so I tried some great saving, but yeah, I still had some gas as I accelerated to the last straight, but then just ran out. At least I was lucky that it coasted over the line, so the points are still scored, but yeah, not ideal. Luckily now there's like 2 months for the next race, so let's see. I hope this is the low point in the season. I will not give up.
even if we are against like the best guy in Assetto Corsa and other fast guys.
Well, as I said before, second place in the championship has now changed. That has gone the way of Kevin Siggy, our race winner there from Risto Caput. But I'm sure that all of these drivers are still going to be pushing as hard as ever as we head to next round, which will be at Mugello. And that is going to be in a couple of weeks' time. I'm just looking at the calendar. That's going to be on the 18th of May. So we have a little while to wait. We have about... over a month. So yeah, we've got quite a long time to wait. Actually, plenty of times for the drivers to have a bit of practice, get their setup sorted, and really, there's going to be no excuse for anyone slacking by the time we get to Mugello in May. So anyway, we will see you then. Very very nice that you could join us for the first 3 rounds of this series, the wintry rounds, if you could call them that. I know that. Spring has technically been happening for about 3 days now, but the first part of the series has come to a definite close now, and now we have a long break before round 4 at Mugello. See you right then.
Thank you, Joshua, for your work as usual. We are very thankful for that, and we appreciate it a lot. Thanks to simnews.tv as well. Thank you to Terence. George was taking care of the stewarding along with Adrian, and he was a co-commentator with Joshua. Obviously, I cannot end here without mentioning our sponsors, which are simnews.tv, World of Sim Racing, Porsche Malta, Continental Cars Limited, Melita, Textor Distribution, Extreme Power Sports, especially GT Omega Racing, and who our RPM team now forms part of the brand of GT Omega Racing, Genesis, Husingveld, Fanatec, and Sparco. Thank you everyone for your support, and we'll see you next round 4 in May. Thank you very much.
mushkin now. Black of peas came to make it hot. We beat the pocket stop. Bubbling up just like lava, heated like a sauna. Penetrating through your body armor. Rhythmically we massage ya.
Volkswagen.
They called it madness. Building the car of your dreams yourself. Madness. Putting the engine in the back. Madness. Launching a turbocharged super sports car in the midst of a worldwide oil crisis. Madness. Taking a sports car into the desert and taking the insights gained there back onto the streets. Madness. Building the first hybrid car on Earth. And when its time had come, the fastest one on Earth. Once more, they called it madness. Let them call it madness. We call it courage. The courage to build a sports car with 4 business class seats. The courage to upgrade not only the driving, but also the driver. The courage to transfer an unmistakable design DNA and create a luxury saloon that was born on the racetrack and is at home on the roads. The new Panamera. Courage changes everything.
Gigabit Internet issa f'Malta. Gawdi mill-Giga Power biss mal-Melita Flexi.